Okay, welcome back here to wrap up the first hour of the weekend edition of the Korelin Economics Report. Going it alone this time. Boy, I did it alone by myself for probably the last 30 years, and now all I can say is without a co-host here, I feel like I have a lot of freedom, thank God. Having free at last, as Martin Luther King said. I'm chatting right now with a gentleman who I have the utmost respect for. He is the president of a company called Clifton Star Resources. Let me give you a little bit of background. I am a shareholder in Clifton Star, bought the shares out of the open market. Clifton Star is a sponsor on our website. What does that mean? That means if you want to get any more information on Clifton, simply click on their banner. We're going to start out talking about something with Michel Bouchard a little bit differently, though. We're going to talk a little bit about some experiences that he has had around the world over the past year in terms of market perception. Michel, you were telling me you were in Switzerland, I guess, about 6 months ago.
Yeah, about
Boy,
6 months
talk about
ago.
down in the dumps. Everybody was very, very pessimistic.
I think that it's the first time I've been there a couple of times over the last 10 years. And normally they're very upbeat about gold and precious metal in general. But this time it was the first time that I saw people worried about the evolution of the gold price, gold price going down. And as well, it was the first time that I thought they were a bit nervous about the whole process going on. That was 6 months ago, though.
Well, I'll tell you what I find to be interesting. I've been in this game a long time, as have you, different facets of it, but when gold got down to the high 12s, the mid 12s, even down to the very high 11s, I was not particularly worried, and the reason I wasn't is because it just struck me from a fundamental standpoint, the $1,000, $1,050 that people were calling, some people were calling for, I just never thought it would happen for fundamental reasons.
Well, you're right about fundamental reason. I think that when you look at all the gold producer in the world, the average must be somewhere in the $1,100 range. So at some point, and it already started when we hit, I think, the bottom of the gold price late last fall, people started to look at their cost, cutting production, shutting down production in some cases. So it shows, that you can't produce really a gold ounce under those prices. So this is the absolute limit that it should go. But still, everybody's afraid. Some people call it at 800, 900. And because of that, I think that there was nervousness, obviously, in the market, especially during the end of the year.
Yeah, but so far all the pundits, for lack of better terms, who are calling for $800-900 gold have been wrong so far. I think that inaccuracy personally is going to continue. As you know, we interview newsletter writers on a daily basis, mostly technical people. Doc, Rick Ackerman, Gary Savage, etc. All of them are calling for higher gold prices. Rick is a pure technician, Michel, but he's probably the most conservative of any of them. He wants to see mileposts down the road before he's going to call, an upward market or a downward market. But generally, he also is very, very optimistic. I don't see a lot of pessimism in the markets right now.
Right now, it's funny how 6 months changed the world, Even here in Vancouver, you can see that the people in general are upbeat. Since the beginning of the year, first of all, it's the end of the tax selling season. That helped a lot. But even in the last week, with the takeover offer of Goldcorp on Cisco, people are starting to think, gee, there's interest out there. And people see it as something that will start some movement in the market. More attention to the mining side, more attention to the gold business. And I think because of that, you can sense that people are much more optimistic. And most people I talk here so far think that we've hit the bottom with the gold price, and it should go up now.
Well, I personally think we have. I generally put my money where my mouth is. Also, as our listeners are aware, Kathy and I started buying silver, small quantities, but we started buying silver just before Christmas. I'm going to continue that, as I announced to my to my listeners, just because gold and silver, you have to admit, go kind of hand in hand, and I like the leverage that silver offers. You mentioned the Goldcorp offer, which I thought was woefully underpriced, by the way, of a Cisco, but that kind of leads me into wanting to talk a little bit about Clifton Star, because you are in exactly the same part of the world as Cisco. Now, I, a number of years ago, visited your property. It is very, very definitely very enthusiastic mining country. Your properties are, in my opinion, very, very interesting because there has been work done there before. With your experience, I would have to believe that this thing is going to either under your tutelage, for lack of better terms, or a major company like a Goldcorp or whoever coming in and taking over. I think it's going to go back into production.
I personally believe that that deposit, the Duparquet deposit, will get in production in the coming years. Whether it's Clifton by itself or Clifton with a partner, I do believe that it's going to happen because, like you mentioned, the Cisco story, we're in the same part of Canada with the same abundance of infrastructure, roads, power, and everything, manpower. So it's a very similar story. It's a drive-to project, literally, and it's a big one. It's one of the few big one left around. And it was left around because metallurgy was difficult and things like that, and we've solved this. So I think that in the coming months, we will probably see real interest from producing company for assets like ours, located in that kind of area where, it's mining friendly.
Well, I know that when the board brought you on, and what's it been now, about 3 years or so? Yeah, I know that one of the reasons the board brought you on is because you're not new to this game. You've done this before.
That's true. I've been involved previously with a junior company that got taken over, and it was the same pathway. That is, we took an asset, a good asset, developed it to a point where a major company or a mid-sized company would be interested in either joint venturing or buying out the company.
Now, where we stand right now in terms of me as a shareholder, you as obviously a substantial shareholder in the company, I would have to say that even though the share price has come down a little bit, and obviously the reason the share price has come down a little bit is because of a lack of interest in the market, your price though you've doubled in the last couple of weeks or so, so things are looking very, very good along those lines. But what do you, Michelle, where do you see the market going for the remainder of 2014? And let me define what I mean by the market, the junior resource stock market.
Well, I think that it will go up for two simple reasons. First of all, I do believe that the gold price will go up. I don't know how much, but it will go up during the year. And the other aspect is that the market last year were so bad and company evaluation became so low that there will be a rebound because there's a lot of value nowadays, especially in a company like Clifton Star. We've been working for the last year, developing more resource, de-risking that project, getting things tweaked down on the project, and our value has gone down during 2013. So I do expect to see a rebound, and I do expect, as a whole, the junior market to rebound.
Well, value has gone down a little bit, but having said that, I think the rebound is actually, I think it's going to happen. I don't think there's any question about that. And the reason I feel that way purely and simply is because too many people are so absolutely, almost crazily interested in the junior resource market. I mean, those people aren't going to go away. I'm not going to go away. You're not going to go away. There are people who I think just because of their enthusiasm, I think we're going to see a rebound in the market.
I think you're right about the following people. There's a mining, let's call it a mining crowd or an exploration crowd that are still very interested in what people are doing here in Canada and elsewhere in the world. And I do think when you look around here in Vancouver today, there's lots of people and they're interested in what we're trying to do here. I do think that there will be a follow-up.
Well, Michelle, I got to tell you, I appreciate two things. Number one, I appreciate your views on the resource market. I appreciate your views on gold. It's always very, very interesting to get an industry perspective as you provided our listeners. But number two, in terms of your company, I want to stress three things. And this is not investment advice. I'm not a registered investment advisor. I'm also a shareholder of Clifton Star. But you know, you guys got a great asset, you've got great management, and you've got plenty of money in the bank. So there really isn't too much more that someone could ask for. Let's hope for your sake and my sake and our listeners' sake that this market does come back as we're predicting it will.
I agree totally with what you just said, and thank you very much, Al.
Thanks, Michelle.